Okay. So thank you for inviting me on and talking. My name is Sunday and I'm a realtor, a unicorn realtor. I've been in real estate for 8 years. However, I've been in the industry for over 15 because I started with people that used to do flipping on the courtyard steps in Ventura, and I managed the books for them and general contracting. And, before it was popular, they did it for like 40 years as a family business. And they're like, well, you know so many people, why don't you get your license? And so I came from the financial world and I had all my licenses to do that. And I'm like, okay, what's another license? So I went ahead and
Yeah.
did that. And then my nephew found PACE and Sub 2 and said, you got to do this mastermind to his mother. And I was like, you're not going to do another mastermind where you're paying six figures and, nothing comes of it. She's like, oh
Mhm.
no, you check it out and you vet it and you let me know. And so I talked to the salespeople and everything. And I'm like, okay, I can't find any holes. And I've been blown away with everything that I've learned and have been taught and people that we've met and connected with. Um, my sister went to the mastermind. I tagged along with her in May. I'm planning on going to the one in October. And since that mastermind, we started a meetup every Saturday in Westlake Village Inn at Stonehouse. So from 10 to 12. So we've implemented that. She's a real estate investor. This is her retirement job. And when you know better, you do better. And
Mhm.
before we knew, she bought 10 properties.
Oh,
Five of
wow.
them were in 1 month, in the month of December of 2021 during COVID and all that. So
Great timing.
if we would have known what we know now, we could have been able to buy a lot more. And
Right.
she is on those 5 properties are short-term rentals. And that's what attracted to me when I, read your introduction and listened to your video, is that you were in the short-term rental space. However, my sister does not want to be in that anymore. She wants to phase out of that because she's like, I bought myself a job. And she's like, I
Yeah.
want to be a private money lender and do that. My nephew, Spencer, who's 21, just got his license and he does commercial space and he looks for cold calling and doing off market properties because he has a hedge fund or something that they're the buyer, they're the end user. So he does that. Plus, he also does this and he wants to do Section 8. So
Okay.
he's looking like in Ohio, in Indiana, in the Midwest, someplace, and wants to build a portfolio there. And my sister's the visionary, I'm the implementer. And so we've done other businesses before. We're all a family of entrepreneurs. My dad's a financial advisor. Like I said, I came from the financial world before. So, that's a little bit about me. And then I've been doing real estate traditionally for 8 years. And what convinced me is I had a client that basically at 74 lost everything and had to file bankruptcy on a commercial building that she had. And it was in March, the same month I joined at the April 1st, at the end of March is when I joined, but she had to file bankruptcy and everything
Mhm.
and lost everything at 74. How do you recoup? And she had
Yeah.
$500,000 worth of equity in the property. So when you know better, you do better. And if I come across that traditionally in real estate, this is just gives me multiple tools to help somebody out, you know?
Mhm.
So that's what I like is all the creativeness on where it just, if two parties agree, then that's wonderful
Right.
because sky's the limit. It's endless on the possibilities that can happen, you know?
100%.
So how do you like being now? Are your short-term rentals in Florida or are they here or?
Yeah. So my short-term rentals, they're all in Florida, Tallahassee, Florida.
Mhm.
I have three, and they're all fine. It is, or it can be a job, especially once you build up more units.
Are
One's
you
not too bad.
self-managing?
I'm self-managing.
Yeah, see, my sister and my nephew are doing that together because they're
Mhm.
like, well, we got to know it first before we do it. However, it's a little bit more than what they shoot off in the sense of
Mm,
that it's like it's a more of a weekend destination. So they have a
I
lot
see.
of turnover on the
Yeah.
weekends and it's up in the mountain area. It's about an hour and a half from here. So it's in
Oh,
a
it's here.
forest. It's off of Fraser Park. It's called Pine Mountain Club. So it's
Mm.
about 30 minutes off the five before the Grapevine before you get to Bakersfield.
Oh, okay. So
Hmm.
it's on the way to, or I guess it's kind of close to Yosemite in a way.
It's closer to the 101. that's more inland, like you veer off to go to
Hmm.
Yosemite.
Yeah.
So where in Southern California are you at when you come down here?
So I'm actually in Southern California right now. I'm in Claremont.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right,
My
so
girlfriend, she goes to school here, so I come
nice.
down every now and then to visit her. So yeah.
So you
Otherwise,
can
I'm in
just
San Jose.
office anywhere, right?
Kind of. Yeah. I work kind of hybrid, so I have to show up in the office every now and then. So, but when I'm not there, I come down here and I visit her.
So
Yeah.
what is your main focus, that you still just want to do more short-term rentals, or what's your avatar, or what do you see yourself wanting to do?
Um, Honestly, I'm not too sure what my avatar. I did do the Zoom, and I'm like, I see myself as a connector. I see myself as, X, Y, and Z, but I haven't sat down to be like, this is who I am. Not like any one chosen one. Um,
And
but
did
I
you
joined
do,
sub two.
yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
what was that?
You
Oh,
joined sub two, but did you buy your property subject to, or did you have those prior to coming into sub two, or how did you acquire those?
yeah, I got all of my properties prior to joining sub two, and so the idea was, join sub two, learn about creative finance so I can buy more deals quicker, faster, more creatively, right? Because what happened was my day job, I was able to save a good chunk of money from my day job, use that to buy investment properties. And then every time I bought, I run out of cash. So I was like, there must be a faster, easier, better way, right? So that's why
Well,
I
when we
went
know better,
ventured
we
into it.
do better. Hey, I
Exactly.
will say this, the older I get, the more I know I don't know. But you know what? At 18 and 20, I knew everything. And
Yeah.
now my kids that are, the last one's out of the house and he's 21. I've got them from 34, 23. And then I've got two stepkids that are in their 40s. So, and five grandkids. So the thing is that the older I get, the more I know I don't know,
Hmm.
because there's so many possibilities. And that's why in this group is coming to collaborate with like-minded people is amazing, because it shortens time frames. And that's why, like, I will go to mastermind just because it shortens and collaborates in the time frame, so that, like, there's some wonderful people that we met that I've been in contact with, and I know that I'll do deals with them, like
Hmm.
in other parts of the country, like
Yeah.
Indiana, Illinois, like we will do stuff. But being licensed as an agent, I only can do deals in California unless I refer them out, which I've done a lot of prior to coming into sub two, right? I
Hmm.
have investor clients that had a $10 million 1031 exchange 2 years ago, and they decided they wanted to go to Savannah, Georgia, Memphis, Tennessee, and North and South Carolina. So I networked with agents all over the country in order to get them the right agents to help them, because some agents don't even know what an ROI is. They're like, so
Yep.
I had to vet them in order to make sure that they were taken care of, right? So it's very interesting, the dynamics and what happens over time.
Right.
But I didn't know that that was going to be like my little niche. Well, that same client owned a mobile home park, and that's where they sold the mobile home park. But guess what? Once they sold the park, they still had 17 units that they still owned. So guess what? I became an expert in mobile homes. you know, it's
Wow.
very ironic. So here I'm showing them, a 30, 40, $50,000 mobile home. And in the same day going across on the other side of the freeway and showing a property for $3.5 million.
Dang, that's
You know
crazy.
what I mean?
Yeah,
So no 2 days are ever the same, and it's always an adventure,
that's
and that's
awesome.
the fun
Yeah,
and exciting part about real estate, because there's so many shiny objects. What is the
there's
lane
so
that you
many.
want to stay in, and
Right,
that you feel comfortable and that resonates with you,
right. Yeah,
you know?
that's kind of how I've seen it too. There's so many different kind of like you said, shiny objects. And for me, I've kind of just wanted to kind of focus in on short-term rentals since I started it, I know it, I feel like I'm pretty good at it. So I was like, let me just keep at this, grow my portfolio, and then once I get to an optimal size, maybe go to a different market and do the same thing, or at that point comfortable, I want to do something else, right? So I want to have that choice. But until then, I'm like, let me just put my head down and try to work on this until
Can I ask you a question? Because there's been a lot of stuff in the media where, short-term rentals, like here in California, there's going to be a special tax coming, and they're trying to put it on the docket and
hmm
to pass it I think it's 2025. Or is that anything happening like that in Florida for you? Or are you seeing, like, because of the economy, because of inflation, are you seeing any let up in your bookings?
So I'm in Tallahassee, Florida, which is a university, like college town market. It's also the capital. So my market is very like it's well-rounded overall. It's not like a vacation destination where, you're hoping for people to just like flock in during like summer and
Right.
stuff like that. So mine's like a city, college town, and then the draw for like a short-term rental would be like alumni visiting the university, graduation, uh, college football games, stuff like that. And so that's kind of like what I
The
target.
draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so overall, like I've seen my bookings drop down from like peak 2021, early 2022. It's dropped down a little bit, but overall, it's still like pretty consistent. And I don't really worry too much about, like the whole Airbnb bust, what they call it, because I bought all my properties knowing that if I couldn't do short-term rentals, worst case, I could do long-term rentals and they would still cash flow. So
See, and
I'm in
that's
a
the
boat.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the thing where we got in. They don't, it's just a weekend getaway place.
Hmm.
It's an hour and a half from where we live, but it snows up there. It's
Right.
known for stargazing and people go up there to flock for the snow. However, this year it was a state of emergency up there because they got so much snow that the
Yeah.
governor said it was a state of emergency up there, and it really hurt my sister's business. I mean, I'm not in it on a day-to-day basis, but
Hmm.
she's like, we were just getting momentum starting on renting them all out and having them all up and running, and
Right.
then boom, that crashed. Then of course you've got wildlife, and she gets a phone call in the middle of dinner. There's like a bear here. The security people call. There's a bear in the kitchen. Like
Oh
they're in
man.
the house.
Oh geez.
So you never know what's gonna happen. And it's like you can't
Yeah.
write this stuff. Like as a realtor, there's a lot of stories that I can tell, and it's like I didn't make this up. This is just what happened. So it's life. But
Right.
um
Yeah.
knowing what I know now, like you're in a very well-rounded area and protected versus like my sister, it's just a weekend destination place. It's all year round. It's not just winter
Hmm.
because they have like lilac festivals and other like car shows and stuff up there. And people want to go up there because it's getting away from LA. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes from LA. So
Oh
people
wow.
like to go up there, and it's in the middle of nowhere and you're surrounded by mountains and trees and hiking trails and nature and bears and, deer and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So people like to go up there, but you're not in the real estate business. You are in the hospitality business.
Correct.
And that's what she didn't understand. So that was a big, because I told her, I said, I'm not a property, I'll be your realtor, but I am not your property manager, because I went to school for hotel restaurant management and used to open up Marriott hotels around
Oh
and
wow.
be on the task force. So I understood that, and I'm too old for that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Fair.
That's too much. That's for high energy
Yeah.
when I was young. I'd rather focus over on the other, squirrel over here.
Yeah. Fair. Fair. Okay.
You
So is she struggling right now? Has she thought about hiring like a
She
property
is
manager that
looking at
specializes in it?
possibly, she's doing fine. She's looking, it's the
Hmm.
thing is that, let's put it this way, she doesn't have to work and she bought herself a job.
I
So
see.
she wants to, she's got two people that are looking at them, but there's like so much. Does she sell just the business side and the management side of it, and she still holds it and arbitrages it out because of the type of loans that are in there where you're going to have a penalty?
Oh,
Where, yeah. So
is
how
it a
the type of loans
DSCR?
that we bought is like a 5-year penalty.
Oh,
So
okay.
she's got I think 4 years.
Prepayment
She's
penalty.
got another 3 years. She's got to hold them
Yeah.
because it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the penalty to get out if you're in sooner. So the thing is so we have someone that does Airbnb business. They're younger and they're looking at maybe, so this week they're going to look at the books,
Hmm.
and the accountants and stuff are putting that all together. And there's another guy that was in sub two that's also taking a look, and I think she has a third person. Like she only knows what she knows. She doesn't know what she doesn't know.
Right.
And so someone in the sub two mastermind is like, well, you can sell the business side of it. Now, this is the trick up there, is there's no more short-term rental licenses through the HOA being distributed. You had to own it before December 2021.
Oh.
So how does that all play out? So that's why you would have to sell the whole business as an entity, right?
Hmm.
So there's all these legalities. And so she's got to talk to the attorneys and she's got to talk to the accountant and see to make sure that, you know, she doesn't get penalized through capital gains, or like, or do we do it some kind of structure it some kind of way, sub two, where it's lease option of purchase in the future, but, or do they just buy the business? Like there's all these questions that she
Right.
doesn't know. And that's not really my deal because I'm doing my own thing, but I don't know why we got talking on that, but it's just interesting because you were in the short-term space and I was just like, so the takeaway is make sure there's more than one thing. Like it's the state capital. So do you have attorneys? Do you have people coming in that are politicians from other districts that are coming there? Plus you have, you know, the college, all the different football games. Like you've got stuff going all the time, and it long-term rents. Hers don't long-term rent because of the type of loans that we were in. Because we just looked at AirDNA. Oh, look, AirDNA is saying this, and we overspent and did a few things and upgraded some stuff on the property. So, you know, it's a
Yeah, I
learning
see.
experience. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, I think for me, like that's what I chose, but I have friends and there's other people and stuff too that I know that they do really well in vacation markets. Like I have a friend, a really good friend. She's in like the Smoky Mountains. So that's like a, drivable destination
Like
market, vacation
Asheville, like
market.
over there, like
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And she like crushes it, right? So it really
Mhm.
just depends. Some people like that. Some people rather have the seasonality so they can visit it on the off time and stuff like that, right? So there's no wrong or right or wrong answer. It's just like what you're comfortable with and how you make the best of the situation, right? So for me, I
And
just my
she
I'm
wants to
really risk
travel more,
averse.
so she likes to
I see.
travel overseas. Like she was over in England for 3 weeks, and it's like, okay, who's going to take over and answer all this because you're in the hospitality business, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? So she's like,
Yeah.
um, okay, I got myself into this. Now, how do I back myself out and find the right person to take over what I started? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's otherwise she'll just hold it and do it and suck it up for the 5 years and then sell it when she's ready. But otherwise, you know, she'd rather spend her time doing the other stuff. I'm like, you just need to get a check in the mail. Like that's what you need to do.
Yeah. No, I mean
All this
that's
other stuff
possible
is too
too.
complex. Where I'm more of the integrator and I'm like, all right, you have the vision, I can implement it, but I want to go
Uh-huh.
over here and just do my thing too, you know? So that's why
Yeah.
this project forward thing is exciting for me because I see the bigger picture and where it's going. And that excites me. Like tomorrow with the zero down stuff, buying businesses, because I'm
Hmm.
very business mind. That's exciting.
That is exciting for me as well.
That's
Yeah.
that's like, oh, you caught me. Okay, I'm signing up for that one. I want to hear what that is all about because I have a few friends that are business owners.
Hmm.
He wants to buy a golf course. He owns
Oh wow.
20% of it now, and he can't get the bank to pay. He's looking for $2 million,
Oh wow.
and no bank wants to. And he's been to every single bank, and it's like I got
Really?
another guy that wants to do. He needs $15 million to do in Las Vegas. He used to manage all the linens for like Caesar, like all the big wigs,
Oh
Caesars,
wow.
all of them. And COVID, they let him go. And he knows everyone in that industry. He knows what the pricing is. He knows it all. And
Uh-huh.
he is friends with another guy that sold one of his business. There's only like two big people, like, so they got a monopoly on it. So there's
Yeah.
room for someone else to come in and they know how to set it up and do all that. And I was like, okay, if you need funding for that, you let me know when you're ready to go and you get a little bit more into that. And I'm seeing him in October because I'll be out in Vegas. I'm going to the U2 concert at the Sphere
Oh, there
with
we
a
go.
high school friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine. So
Oh
that should be
man.
fun. So
That's pretty cool.
I'm gonna talk to him about what's going on with that. So you never know where your leads or what's coming in, and
Hmm.
having all of this such like sub two and having project forward and having the creative stuff. How can, with your Rolodex and the people that you know, how can you help them with what they're looking for? So what piqued my interest with you is like, okay, you're in Florida. Florida is one of my states that I want to buy. I have one of my best friends. She just bought a house in Vero Beach
Okay.
on the coast side, and she keeps wanting me to go down there. I'm like, well, maybe I'll buy a place down there and I can rent it out, and then I can come visit in the off season because you only can rent there I think it's 7 months out of the year. It can't be a full time, and you can rent once. So you got to have someone that's going to be there for 7 months, and then when it's super hot, they're gonna go up north to their house. You know what I mean? So I was like, that might be a possibility.
Right.
You know, but we're spoiled here in Southern California. I'm sorry. Sorry for you folks out there, but there's, you know, it's always sunny here in Southern California.
Yep,
And
I understand it.
yeah, where I'm at, it's like, you know, it was 92 in San Fernando Valley, and it's probably 82 at my house because I'm in a
Oh
little strip,
man. Uh-huh.
and the Santa Ana winds kick in, and you know, it's a lot cooler here in the summer and warmer in the winter. So it's the best of both worlds. So I'm very
Yeah.
blessed.
Yeah. Sounds like it. I was like, man, that sounds nice. 82.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, there's not much humidity here. Coming from Chicago and Florida, I'm like, Florida, they got bugs there. They got big bugs. You
Yeah, they got
know,
a lot of
like they got
mosquitoes, super
flying
humid.
bugs.
Yeah, yeah, that's Florida. But if you go in winter, it's nice because it's not as hot.
Yeah, well, anywhere, you know, that doesn't snow is nice in the winter time. But
Yeah.
you know, my children that grew up here, one's in Boston and one's in Chicago. So
Oh,
I said, I'll come visit you in the fall and in the spring. No summer and no winters.
yeah.
So
We're the extremes.
yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Uh, I well here the goal is to, and this is in the video too. The goal is to hit 35K a month. So I think in 5 years I will be able to hit that. So after
Is
I
that
hit
with room
that
for inflation? Is that for room with inflation at 35 in 5 years?
in 5 years, maybe. That goalpost could always change, but
Yeah.
until I hit it, I'm like, this is the goal right now. And as of right
And that's a
now,
great goal to
it's
have.
yeah, thank you. So that's the goal in the next 5 years is to grow my portfolio in Florida, in short-term rentals to make that 35K a month goal. And then after that, we'll see. But I really want to get into more so like online businesses because I was thinking about like my lifestyle and what kind of lifestyle I want. And I want to be able to not be like locked into any specific location. So
Mhm.
hopefully
Well,
I
is your
can do
lane
more.
always going to be short-term rentals, or are you going to divert from that in the next 5 years, or you want
Oh
to
yeah.
stay in that lane?
I think for the current goal of 35K a month, I'm gonna stay in that lane. But for anything else, I'm gonna look for something outside of it.
Mhm.
I think it's more of a proof of concept for me to see if I can, you know, if I can scale a business from, 1K a month to 30K a month, right? And then if I want to start doing something like that in a different business, then I want to start anew from that. But yeah,
And
that's kind of the idea.
I think it's going to be interesting to see this video that's coming out on September 1st with the zero down and what those possibilities look like,
Yeah.
because what will come across people's desks. Like my nephew has a business partner. They have an Airbnb also up in that area.
Hmm.
And his partner is in the medical field. Like he had the contract with the state of Colorado to do all the testing for COVID.
Oh, wow.
So there's certain like, and this is his lane, right? The medical
Hmm.
stuff, right?
Right.
And he has a partner in that side of his business where they bought this company that's here locally in our town, and they have a special license. And what it is, it's an equipment for elderly, like, well, not just elderly, but like hospital equipment. If you need a hospital bed, you need a walker, you need any of that
Hmm.
stuff, right? But they bought
Right.
the business only for this license that they no longer give out anymore,
Oh.
right? So that partner is like, to this partner, why don't you go ahead? If you want to buy this business from me for $1 million, take over, all of the inventory and everything. You can still use the licenses, but that's the reason why we purchased it,
Hmm.
and still have the storefront. So he would take over the storefront, he would take over all the inventory and all that and stuff like that. And they're only needing, I don't know how much money. I just threw out $1 million, but whatever it is,
Right.
that's a unique situation too. And that's in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So how can you help someone like that may not have all that funding structure a deal where you have a piece of the pie, but you bring in the gator lenders to do that. And then you always have a piece of that as a silent investor.
Yeah.
My dad is a silent investor in a restaurant here in Southern California.
Oh, nice.
It's like 20 locations. So, you know, that's great because that'll be passed down to generations. You know, that's
Right.
his legacy.
Right.
So that part, that's why it intrigues me so much, is because if my dad never did that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So how can you scale something like that where you're just a silent investor and you just collect the checks, you just get mailbox money?
Right. Yeah.
And it
At that
doesn't
point,
have
you
to
need
be
to.
one particular lane, because think about it, with COVID and stuff, everything got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that were strong are going to become bigger and wealthier. The ones that weren't are no longer. And
Yep.
that's where generational wealth starts and finishes sometimes, because they weren't diversified enough in different things, or they were too leveraged and they weren't able to hold that out because of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, it's a different, if it's a different time now to think differently, where what we've done in the past is not going to work necessarily the next time around. So
Yep.
it's thinking out of the box now, moving forward, so that when things shift, we're already been thinking that way already. And we've got 5 strategies already in our box that we've already strategized and done already to move forward and act swiftly.
Yep. And that's why you have to keep on connecting with people, right? Learn different strategies so that when you're
Exactly.
presented with this opportunity or problem, you're like, okay, I know who to go to if I need help, or I already know how to address the situation, right? So
And this is another thing that happened to me today. I was on a phone call with another girl. Her name's Sammy, and she just had a Calendly link. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wanting to meet more people, right?
yeah.
So we just had a phone call, and I was on my way to Claremont because I was meeting a Gator person up there, and we started talking. She goes, "Oh, I looked you up, you know, because I don't have a great presence as real estate on like I should, as most realtors, because I was always the back of the scene. I didn't like it. I'm never pushing
Hmm.
myself out there. So, anyways, this is totally out of my comfort zone, and you know, it may not sound like it because I'm
No,
talking
it
off
doesn't
my
sound like it. Yeah, I'm like, you're doing great. So,
So, but
anyways.
this is my point. She goes to me, she goes, "Oh, did you work for Keller Williams?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, in the Westlake office." She goes, "Well, I used to work at the Rancho Cucamonga office." Well, the same owner that owned part of Westlake owned the Rancho Cucamonga. So we had someone in common that we knew.
Oh, wow.
Right. So then it was like right off the bat. And I said, so many times that has happened to me, especially in the last couple years. Like there's only 1 degree of separation. And that was by me asking questions. It
Hmm.
happened years ago. So I had just moved out here to California. My mom has been out here for 30 some odd years. I've been here for like 18. She used to do book groups at Barnes and Noble and Borders, and I stopped by her class. And so she goes, "Oh, I want you to meet Joyce. Joyce is from visiting from Chicago. She lives out here 6 months out of the year." I'm like, "Oh, really, Joyce? Where are you from?" She's like, "Oh, I'm near Wabansie College. Do you know where that is?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, I'm really from Aurora." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Do you belong to Aurora Country Club?" She goes, "Yes." And I said, "You know Kevin?" She goes, "Fitzpatrick?" And I said, "Yeah, he's my boss."
Wow.
She goes, "Do you know Alma?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "That was my mom." I said, "I've talked to you then on the phone because I remember when she passed away, I talked to a woman and that was you." She goes, "Yes, because I'm an only child." So if I didn't
Wow.
keep asking the question, so and guess what? That woman is 88 years old. She lives in Simi, the next town over, and every Easter she's invited to the country club, which she lives across the street from the clubhouse where my parents belong. And we invite
Hmm.
her for Mother's Day or Easter every single year before she goes back, because she still travels back and forth from Aurora to Simi Valley. So my point is that you never know how you may know somebody if you ask the next
Hmm.
question.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that has happened to me, I don't know how many times in my life. And it's like, oh my gosh. So then the level of trust becomes that much more when it's only 1 or 2 degrees of separation, right?
Right.
Versus you're a total complete stranger, right?
Right.
But I don't know really many people in Florida. I don't
Uh-huh.
know many people in Claremont, but guess what? People in our sub 2 group, who do you know that I've talked to or that you've talked to that we have commonalities? And that's the nice thing about the community, is that we're all striving to the goal of helping one another out. And that's what it is. I mean, do unto others as you want to have done unto you, is that, I've lived by
Yeah.
those, that's my life. You know what I
I
mean?
love that. Yeah.
And it's great to, you know, I'm an empty nester now. My youngest is 21. It's like I
Hmm.
have the time now. I will say this, the difference between mine and your generation is that you guys have had everything at your fingertips with technology, right?
Right.
The difference is for us, we've had to learn it and we're not that great at it. And some people have mastered it. Me, not so much. I'm going to try. But the thing is that it's human connection and relationships, belly to belly, talking to people. Like, this is great, but I rather meet you in person. Like, let's go have coffee and let's talk about stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So this is a hybrid of the two, technology and communicating, seeing you and
Right.
talking to you face to face, right? So it's a blend
Hmm.
of the two things, but that's where the generational thing and something like Zoom, and it took COVID for this to be the new way. Because I
Right.
remember back in the 80s, they wanted, women wanted to work and they wanted to be at home, and that was never going to happen, right? 80s, 90s. I mean, I was in tech, I was in the .com phase in finance, like bringing new companies to like Boston Market, Krispy Kreme, Amgen. I remember when those were IPOs, and all during the .com in the early
Oh, wow.
2000s, in the mid 90s. Is so I that was my world before. You know
That
what I
was when I was
mean?
born.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. So now I feel real old, but yeah, I got kids older than you. My oldest is 34. So,
Oh
you
yeah, he's
know,
older than
yeah.
me.
So the thing is
Yeah.
like, but where can we have common ground where we
Right.
can learn from one another, which
Yeah.
is great.
Sub
And
two.
something like Sub2 and like this platform that we have is awesome,
I
you know.
completely agree. I was actually going to say, since you went to the mastermind, you might have met Kent. I don't know. You met Kent He. I think that's the name.
The last name.
He He.
I've heard the name. My sister probably, because I didn't go to I went to the meetups and stuff like that afterwards.
Okay.
I was at Pace's house when he did the people are like, he's like, if anyone's staying the extra day, if you want to come to my house, and I'm going to do the
Hmm.
taping of the Monday night dial up. And so we changed our plans and we stayed an extra day. They had like a race car place. We went to that. And
Right.
do you know John Herr? John Herr?
I do
He,
not.
Kevin Cho.
I I know Kevin Cho because he's like obviously very popular, and I've seen his videos
Well,
and all that stuff. But
John was one of the first people that we met at the first meetup, because Kevin planned the meetup on the first night.
oh, okay.
And so what happened is, remember when Kevin was driving, who was it, with Jake or Jason, whatever his name is, across country when he bought the Escalade
Okay. I
in
read the newsletter.
South Carolina?
Uh-huh.
John calls up Kevin. He's like, "Where are you guys at right now?" And he's like, "Oh, well, our next stop is going to be Nashville." John flies out to Nashville, and he's like, "Come
Wow.
pick me up. I'm at the Nashville airport." And John drove the rest of the way to Phoenix. And
Oh
John lives
wow.
here. John lives in down in LA area.
Oh
So
wow.
we
Small world.
connected with John, and I've
Uh-huh.
helped John out and stuff. Like, he's buying here in this area, and he's asked a few things. And so, and he's a young whippersnapper like yourself, and it's like, I'm more than happy to help
Yeah.
out if I know what you need, and if I can help, I'm more than happy. So reach out if you need anything. If you're doing anything here in California, as far as the MLS, I can help you look at stuff,
Uh-huh.
or help
Yeah,
you
definitely. I
figure out
appreciate that.
comping, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
know certain pocket areas in California, and I
Hmm.
have an idea on how to comp. I've taken classes on it and stuff like that. So, you know, Florida is one of my areas that, I've been there I was there for the hurricane. I got
Oh,
stuck
really?
there because of the hurricane. Yeah, it went right through Vero Beach. The eye was right there. That's where I was staying at my friend's. I slept through
Oh,
the thing, you know. It was past
it's
my
a very
bedtime.
Florida thing to do.
Yeah,
To
well,
just
it
sleep
was
through a
the eye.
hurricane.
So I'm like, oh, they're talking this like it wasn't too bad. I'm like, we had a
Yeah.
earthquake here the other day, and I was underneath, and I just put, I have a 42-foot ceiling, and I put an 8-foot chandelier up, and I was underneath it, and
Oh my.
I heard a little clinkety clink, and I'm like, I look up, and I'm like, oh, what was that? And he goes, oh, that was an earthquake. My dad says to me, I said, oh, okay, like that's only been my second or third one in 18 years. I was like, that wasn't too bad. I'm like, oh, those other chandeliers, they're gold, they're glass balls.
Uh-huh.
They didn't make any noise because I was worried about those. They're more delicate. And I'm like, oh, thank
Right.
God. At least we
Yeah.
know they lasted that because we had just like dusted them off and finished like the day before.
Oh. Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was interesting that it made it through that. And I was thankful.
Yeah. Luckily, earthquakes hasn't been too bad too, because I've been through a couple in San Jose. Oh, I was like, huh. Just things shake around and you're like, oh, okay. Well, nothing too bad was happened. So luckily, that's always a good thing. But yeah, like I appreciate that. If there's anything I can do to help you, same back to you. I was gonna say
Yeah.
Kent, he does Airbnbs and he's actually looking into affordable housing. So I think your nephew should connect with him because if he's looking for affordable housing in like Ohio and stuff,
Okay.
it might be a good contact on the short-term rental and the affordable housing side. So,
And
and he was also
how do you spell his last
so
name?
I'll send you his contact
Okay,
information. He has
wonderful.
like a yeah. I think he'll be a good contact for you to
And
reach
how,
out
if
to.
people want, because you're going to be posting this, how are you able to people to connect with you if they want to get in touch with you?
That's a good question. Mainly right now I'm posting this on my YouTube. I will be creating an Instagram, like a public one, because right now I have a private one because I'm not
Mhm.
too. I haven't been too comfortable putting myself completely out there. So I think making a public Instagram
I
would
just
be.
created one. I got 0 followers. You want to be my first one?
Sure, sure.
Literally, like I'm like, oh, this is a homework assignment. I'm like, I had a
Yeah,
personal one, but like YouTube, I had like 0. I'm like, okay, well, I put my first video up. I interviewed my nephew, so if you want it, if it's public, it's out
yeah.
there someplace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'll
Spencer.
share with you this conversation, and feel free to take whatever part you want to leave out, or I'm just gonna leave it as
I'm
is
not
because
that.
I'm
I'll
kind of too
figure it
lazy
out,
to.
but I don't know how to edit yet. I just know how to push the buttons right now. Hey, my first interview was with him, and I did it on StreamYard, and technology was not working. I even went to the iChat people, and
Uh-huh.
they joined our meeting. They couldn't figure it out. I'm like, okay, at least I don't feel like it was me. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I'll be darned. I'm like, I'm gonna get this done. And that night, I jumped. I'm like, let's figure this out and try to do it. And we figured it out and got it done. And I'm
yeah.
like, oh my God, it's working on both ends. Let's do the thing. So we just like went in and did it. So everything works out. Persistence, grit, it pays off.